What's going on, guys? It's a regular Thursday night and I'm a little bit tired, but I am in the mood for something good and warm to eat. It is a cold, late January night and we are making a really good beef stew with beer. Now, this recipe can double for another recipe, which I will do in an upcoming video. So the sauce that goes with it that we're gonna make to put in the stew is gonna be used for another recipe. Now, tonight's dinner is inspired by a new to me cookbook by Dr. Mindy Pelz called Eat Like a Girl. So I am cooking out of her cookbook tonight, tweaking the recipe just a hair to my liking, but definitely check out her cookbook. I will link it below. Definitely want to give credit where credit is due. Dr. Mindy's trying to keep us all healthy with her cookbook on balancing hormones and burning fat, all good stuff in there. Definitely check out this one. It's going to be a good one. Okay, for the chili sauce, we are going to need one 14-ounce can of tomato puree. We also need apple cider vinegar, white vinegar, honey, a brown sugar substitute such as coconut sugar, a little bit of kosher salt or regular salt will do, chili powder, onion powder, and garlic powder. Okay, first we're going to add the tomato puree to the saucepan with 1/4 cup of water. Then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of the brown sugar substitute, which in this case again is coconut sugar. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of salt. Yes, a whole tablespoon, because that tomato puree doesn't have anything in it. We're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. We're going to gently bring all this to a little bit of a boil and then let it simmer for 30 minutes. All right, for tonight's beef stew with beer, we are going to need, look how delicious it's going to be so good. We are going to need 2 pounds of beef chuck roast or shoulder cut into 1-inch cubes, salt and pepper, 4 tablespoons of butter. We need olive oil, a little bit of coconut sugar. We're going to need 1 bay leaf, a little bit of allspice, at least 1 cup of gluten-free or stout beer. If you can't find gluten-free, that's okay. Just go with a stout. Of course, we're going with Kentucky Bourbon Barrel. 1 cup of beef bone broth. We're probably going to use a little more than 1 cup. We need some Dijon or stone ground mustard. How about both in 1 jar? That sounds good to me. We need some cremini mushrooms, or baby bella will do. At least 2 carrots, but I'm going to go with 4 or 5. Fresh from the supermarket or farmer's market are best, in my opinion. Go with those and cut those in big chunks. We need at least 1/2 or a full cup of parsley and 1 white onion chopped fairly big. And don't forget, we're going to need turnips for this recipe. That's right. We're going to learn how to chop some turnips tonight. Okay, if you've never bought turnips before, don't be scared. I really don't use these in a stew either. We normally go for potatoes, right? But this is a healthier version of the potato in the beef stew. So we're going to do it. And I honestly had to watch a YouTube video to figure out, okay, what do I actually do with this? How do I slice this? How do I cut this? And we're just going to peel it like a carrot and then cut it into chunks. It's going right in the stew. But the first time I did make this, I put it in with the carrots and my turnips got a little bit too soft. So note to self, if you've never used them before, no shame in your game, because I hadn't either. I would put them in later. I'd put the carrots in first and then the turnips maybe 20 minutes before we're ready to serve it. That way the turnips don't get too mushy. See, and it's pretty soft when you cut it too, so it's like a potato, but slightly softer. Kind of like a potato, like bite-sized enough for stew, but I don't want it too small because I don't want it to get mushy, but I don't want it too big because I need it to fit on a spoon if I'm going to take a bite. Most of what's in this stew is pretty chunky, and that's okay with me. If you want to cut yours smaller, cut it smaller, but then I would also cut down your cook time because it's going to cook faster. So, okay, the first thing we want to do is get some salt and pepper on this. So this is the part we get dirty, and I just want to break up the little pieces because we're just going to sprinkle this with some salt and pepper to throw it in that sizzling hot Dutch oven over there. I feel like I always have to scrub like I'm going to surgery every time I touch raw meat. You know, Like, really get in there? Okay, generous with the salt and peppy. All right, let's get this party started. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons to the pot of butter. Get that melted. We want it pretty dang hot because we want to try to brown some of that beef. We want to try to get it brown and crispy, and we also add some oil to this. I'm not trying to make brown butter, but I do want to get the pot pretty hot. So I'm just going to use my hands for the first half. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, one's already looking good. Okay, we're gonna put a little more butter in and do the second round. So we're gonna take these out of here and put some onions in. And it says to scrape up all the brown bits. If mine will scrape off the bottom, we'll do that. It does add a lot of delicious flavor. I can smell this and it smells really, really good. Okay, I can already tell you this is gonna be good. Now we're gonna start piecing the rest of this stew together. It only calls for 2 tablespoons of this chili sauce we made. So you're gonna be like, well, what are we gonna do with the rest of it? Well, we're gonna use it for another recipe, so hang tight with me. We're only using 2 tablespoons, but honestly, as we go, I think it needs more than this. The last time I made it, I think I added 4 or 5. It's delicious. Okay, so we're adding a tablespoon of coconut sugar. All right, we're gonna throw in a bay leaf or 2. Mine are broken up, so I'm just gonna use 2 little broken ones. Half teaspoon of allspice. So this is a quarter, so we're gonna do a half. Trust it. As my daughter would say, trust. Here's where the beer comes into play. Calls for about a cup. We're just gonna let it, oh my gosh, I can already smell it. It's about 1/3 of the bottle. That's probably good. About half of the bottle. Now I would totally take a sip and finish this while I'm waiting on this, but it came right out of the pantry and it is lukewarm. So that's a no for me. Just gonna use it for cooking tonight. And look, if you don't like adding beer to stew or alcohol to your cooking, you don't have to do that. You can skip this part. But if you are cool with it and love all that extra flavor, I'm telling you, it does add a ton of extra flavor. Okay, now we wanna add about a cup of beef bone broth. I know that's way more than a cup, but I'm using this as the broth of the stew. So if I always feel like it needs more, I'm probably gonna add more here in just a bit when we add in the vegetables. Okay, we need about a tablespoon of this Dijon or stone ground mustard. In this case, mine is whole grain Dijon. Trust. Of course, we need to season with salt and pepper. Not too much pepper this time. All right, we're just gonna give this a stir, let that mustard kind of incorporate. And then as soon as that comes back up to a simmer, I'm gonna add my carrots. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, it's coming to a little bit of a boil, so I wanna go ahead and add these in without splashing myself with boiling water. And then basically we're gonna like cover this for, I'm gonna go with 15 minutes.
What is this?
Turnips.
Turnips?
Yeah, you've had this before. We had it a couple weeks ago. Remember, and I was like, the turnips were too small and they got a little bit mushy. And you were like, are these potatoes? You thought they were potatoes. As I'm going to put my chili sauce in a cute little jar and save it for tomorrow's recipe.
Is that beer?
That is beer. You're welcome to take a drink.
Oh, the beer?
Yeah. It's not cold.
Oh.
I know.
Never mind.
Bummer, right? Mm-hmm. I'm glad you came in because I was actually kind of in a bad mood. So, you done with work? I needed somebody to talk to. Okay, now we're going to go from the measuring cup to the pretty little ball jar.
So, when I was a kid, and a little bit about me, well, I grew up on a farm, and we always had a big garden. And Dad would always get his trusty pocket knife out and pull a turnip out of the garden and peel it and eat it like an apple.
Oh, really?
It's supposed to be good for you, so I don't know.
Yeah, they are.
So he's 77 and still going, so maybe it'll work.
This is roast. Woo! This is a stew. Okay, we're boiling a little bit too hard there.
Let me turn the pan on.
A few more minutes on the carrots.
Valerie made these a couple nights ago, and like last night, a couple nights ago, and these are like the best cookies ever. I mean, they're like, normally when you bake a cookie, and like 24 hours goes by, they start to get hard. Not these guys.
Oh yeah, they get softer. They're like cake.
They're freaking good.
Yeah, you can check that video out here. When you're done chewing, tell them the importance of buying beef from a local farmer. It makes everything better.
Like, we're fortunate that my dad he raises cows every year, so we get part of the beef from them. And so we get like homegrown cow. But if you're, in a city or you don't have access to that, find you a good local butcher that has good meat. Because I'm telling you, one, it's way better for you. I mean, the hamburger you buy at the grocery stores is kind of gross.
I think we all know that by now. But hey, you get what you get sometimes. But it doesn't get any better sometimes. Then I think it's time to add all the rest of the friends. We're gonna add this beef back in with the juices. It does say that with the juices. And then I clearly think that we need more broth. And good thing I'm wearing my apron because I just splattered that and I want to keep my sunshine yellow sweater clean. I'm not gonna add the mushrooms and parsley yet. I don't want those to get too mushy because this is gonna go in for another 30 minutes, 40 minutes. See, I'm adding the whole carton of bone broth. I want it brothy and stewy. See you in a few minutes. All right, we're about 15 minutes in. Let's see how we're doing. It's looking good to me. I'm gonna test one of those turnips. Well, I went through okay, but I still feel like it needs more time, so we're just gonna keep it kind of low for another 10-15 minutes. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the mushrooms because even if we've got 15-20 more minutes, I really think we should get these going and get the mushroom flavor in there as well. Now I am out of beef broth, so I may add a little water, but I'm gonna let that rest for a second and then I'm gonna taste it and see what it needs, if anything. All right. Yes, the mushrooms have cooked down a little bit, so I don't think it needs any more broth.
Looks really good.
Yeah, it does, and it smells delicious. But it does need a few more minutes, and then we'll add the parsley. And then in the meantime, I'm gonna throw in some garlic knots because who doesn't want some garlic knots with their beef stew?
So what you're doing is taking a healthy meal and making it
Right.
unhealthy.
Hey, I already messed up with no gluten-free beer.
So is this out of that Girls Gotta Eat book?
Girls gotta eat. That's right. Girls gotta have garlic knots. No, if Mindy ever watches this, she would be upset.
That's what it's called, Girls Gotta Eat, right?
Eat like a girl.
Same
It's,
thing.
it's actually way healthier than Girls Gotta Eat.
It's the same words.
That's
Eat like
from
a girl, girls gotta eat. The order doesn't matter.
Totally different cookbook. All right, let me give this a little bit of a taste because we're almost done. Waiting on them garlic knots. Broth is good. Oh yeah, it's really good. I didn't get a piece of steak yet, but I think it needs something. I think it needs a little more salt, just a little. And then I need to try a piece of that steak. A teaspoon maybe, or maybe 2 pinches. Let's see how those turnips are holding up. Yeah, they're perfectly fork tender. Look at that. Ooh, those look delicious. All right, I want a little piece of steak. So good. And so tender. Needs more chili sauce. All right, we're almost ready to eat. I'm gonna add some of this to the pot And then we can just add some of these to our bowls to make it pretty, whatever. It's just parsley. It's not like it adds a ton of flavor, but it does add greenery, and I think it's nice. A little goes a long way. I need to try one of these mushrooms with the broth. Now they've added a little more chili sauce, a little more salt. It is so good. It's like rich and like earthy. It's so earthy. It's got so much flavor. You guys really gotta try this one. It's so good. There's no other words. Okay, are you guys ready to plate it up and have dinner? Because I sure am. Okay, burnt garlic rolls coming up first. 1, 2, 3. I don't think Jared's gonna eat his, so I could put 2 on Liv's. I know she will. All right, we're boiling, but we are finished and it is time to eat. Let's put some of this delicious chunky beef stew. And while it's boiling, it's fine because it's gonna take me a few minutes to take a nice photograph. And then by the end of that, it should be cooled off enough to eat. We're just gonna make it pretty for the website. That looks nice, doesn't it? Maybe I should be a food photographer. I missed my calling in life. I don't know. Did I? All right, everybody's hungry, so we gotta go. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys try it. If you want to print or pin this recipe, just hit my website. It's in the link below. Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all next time. Oh, don't forget to come back for the next recipe that we're making with this chili sauce. So subscribe and I'll see you soon.
This is the kind of soup you eat with a fork and a spoon, and it's freaking delicious.
Thank God for girls gotta eat, right?
Girls gotta eat, man.